built out here. There's a stair here. We felt we could open and soften that up a little bit, introduce a little flower shop into the corner and remove the stair. So that again, people can flow more easily into the building. As we've already heard, we also think that the current internal spaces of the building are exciting. We like these colonnaded ways, we like the stalls, we like the walls. We think we should work with it, and we should retain as much as we can. But we have to adapt it because we want to make use of the building again, and it's not going to be reinstated as a market as such. But we do think that the spaces are flexible. They are fairly open, wide spaces. They are very adaptive. So a lot of different functions could be accommodated within the building. We're proposing a relatively simple layered system where we have where the courtyards are. We've opened that up a little bit to the sides. Where we have a more public space at the lower level, then restaurants and cafes and some shops at the first level. Then we have a level where we actually are proposing to reinstate a vegetable market on one side of the building, and the other side of the building would be more for exhibition and seating. And then at the top is more like a leisure space, but one which is of a fairly subtle nature. We really like the way the building has this horizontality, this expression, how it offsets against this commercial glass architecture around it. And we think that contrast is something exciting and something we should work with. I've really only shown one level because, as I said, we feel that it's a very flexible space, but we are very excited about these booths and the different character of the booths, and we think there is an opportunity to make use of these booths. You can see we only altered very little in the floor plan. We've inserted an escalator in this location. We kept most of the stairs. We kept most of the principles of the building. Here you can see some of these ideas we had with the booths. We feel that we could where the booths are gone, we could replace them with maybe some seating arrangements. Where the booths are still there, we could maybe still have made use of that as display space, or maybe some seating areas as well. So we think that the principle of these booths can add to the character and the quality of the building. The courtyard at the moment is sort of slightly sagged, slightly enclosed. There are also a little bit of challenges here with the structural alignment, even though that is probably part of the initial intent of the architect. There are two courtyards really, the way we see it, because there's a connection from one side of the building to the other side, which splits the courtyard. And we think that these courtyards could have different characters. We like the idea of having one enclosed, in which case it would be more like a performance space or a venue where you could stage various events and so on, and one open, which means we can bring landscape into the courtyard, and we can also try to have a more quiet space within the city. Here you can see what we've been proposing for the courtyard is to have these kind of glass ribbons wrapping around, which overcome a little bit this challenge of the offset structures, and it starts to respond a little bit to the external expression of the building. And I've got a few images here to show what sort of events and what sort of atmospheres could be created. Maybe there could be some performances in cinema shown, movies would be shown there. And that's the open courtyard. We could have more green, I think, in the courtyard. This is one of the areas where introducing load is not such a big issue. We've also heard the structure is not in such good state. So all the changes we are proposing are of a relatively subtle nature. Okay, to speed up a little bit. We've retained this idea of ventilating across the building as it existed in the historic building. Now just coming quickly to the roof, as I said, we've retained the roof. We've only put very few trees in. Trees are very heavy. They are not very compatible with the current structure and the weakness in the structure, so we've just placed them in very strategic locations where we have some stairs or some solid, more firm structure. We kept that to a minimum, and then we've introduced some open spaces and some cafe at the rooftop. And I think it will be a really exciting space to look out. Normally we kind of try to look over the sea, but what really dominates Hong Kong is is all these tall buildings and this very dense fabric of towers. And I think from this roof you would really be able to appreciate that, and you would be able to experience some of the qualities of Hong Kong. Just a top view, another courtyard view. So a more quiet space at the top of the building. And really this is what I would like to share with you in summary. So our idea is to bring the building back to life, reinstate bits we can reinstate. The building is flexible, it can accommodate a lot of functions. We think the functions could be compatible with what the functions were when it operated as a market. I think we've also heard it was the biggest market in Southeast Asia at the time when it was built. We think it has a lot of value. We think it's great how it's embedded into the urban fabric, and that's what we want to celebrate. And therefore we believe that small changes can make a big difference. Thank you very much.